got kind of a clean tone setup here, and it's a little unforgiving in some ways, but I really like it. Treble pickup on this 68 Black Beauty. I'm going to turn off the solo. Let me walk through the actual structure of this. I got a drum loop. Play that for you. And then my first rhythm guitar part. No crossfades yet. Let me just show you what a crossfade would do there. Well, I'm in grid mode. Let me put it in slip mode, not shuffle. We go into slip. We undo that crossfade, and let me do the one I wanted originally. Just a small one, and that would take care of that pop. And I put it in a musical spot, maybe move it there. Oh, can't move it there. There's no music there. Try moving it there. Let's see how that sounds. Now that's what I'm talking about. That's where it should be. Check it out. So I had punched there, but I hadn't done a good punch crossfade. So this part, let me activate the guitar I have right now by soloing it. And I will bypass echo voice so you can hear it nice and dry. Bypass my echo over here too. So it's basically E sus to E and then A sus to A, and I play a riff. So that's the basis for this song. Then what ends up happening is I start overdubbing on it. Now let's hear what that's about. Let me come back and see what happens next. So the reason for that next overdub is when I play the riff, when I play that riff, there's nothing over it. So I was craving chordal stuff over it, and I wanted something that was unresolved. So over the E, I'm doing D. So what I'm doing is I'm playing D and A over E, so it never resolves. It's like a D. It's like an E sus. So that actually gives me some chordal tonality, unresolved chordal tonality over the riff section. So this is a compositional thing. Now let's see what happens next. Oh, I got to play you guys at the bass. The bass is a big part of this. Let's start from the top. So the bass is kind of droning. And doing E to A. Sometimes just E and then E to A. Now what happens on the second half, it switches from a major tonality to a minor tonality. Now let me find these chords. Oh, there they are. So what happens next is this. Now the bass is pumping away. I'm only playing these top chords. So it's basically G, A, C, and D. But what that does is create an E minor tonality for the second half. So the first half of this musical piece is E major, because it's an E major chord, E sus to E, A sus to A. That's all E major. Then the second half is E minor. And so it's basically G over E, A over E, C over E, and D over E, and that's just kind of a change to E minor. So when I create a piece of music, sometimes I want to do a yin and yang thing where the first half is major and the second half is minor, and that actually allows me to do a more interesting solo because I can really switch it up. Now, because I thought that solo that I played was too clean, I'm going to do a new solo, and I'm going to turn on another distortion pedal. Let's see how this sounds. This should be more forgiving in a way. Let's see. Now it's a little too loud. That's the other thing. I lose my pocket if I'm playing too loud over the. I have to be able to hear the drums well enough so I don't rush ahead of the drums. And that's what happened there. I was mixed too loud, and so my pocket was not great because I was kind of racing ahead. And if I turn myself down a little bit, I'll be able to stay in the pocket, I think. So that was easier to play with a more sustainy sound. And you see how I can break free? I'm having to kind of pay attention to E major and A major in the first half. It's Mixolydian. But on the second half, I can just go to town and kind of play E minor pentatonic and kind of E minor Dorian and kind of just E natural minor, depending on which chord is playing underneath me. And I can kind of land on chord tones, which is pretty cool. The one thing about the first half is there's landmines in there. So if I'm, the rhythm on the first half is, okay, so this is a vintage guitar, so I have to, I'm always tuning. If I'm using an old Les Paul, I am always tuning in between takes. And that's just the way it is. Let me get it going here. So on the first half, because it's E sus to E, A sus to A, and then this unresolved D over E, A over E on the riff. Anytime I do the major third and sit on the major third, it doesn't seem right. So what I have to do, rather than go, I always have to bend that up to resolve it. Let me demonstrate that. I can't sit on the third because it just doesn't resolve very nicely. Let me try again. The other thing that helps me is not to play too slow because there are some landmines. It's all suspended. So I have to be careful not to sit on an E chord tone when it goes to A. Although all this dissonance sounds beautiful to me, but it's almost easier on this first half if I don't slow down. So that time, I overplayed a little on the front, and then when it went to the E minor section, I really sat down, and it was nice just to go. And I'm really paying attention to the chord tones as I'm landing. Let me just start on the second half and show you what I mean by that. So there I was paying attention to chord tones. So if it's on G, okay, playing an E minor, but at the end of that phrase, I made sure that I did a D kind of arpeggio to end it. And then on the second time around, I really paid attention to chord tones. G, A, and then drop to the C. And kind of played a melody on the C and the D. Let me listen to that and evaluate it. So that's me honoring the D chord that happens right there. I'm playing a D arpeggio. So that's G, moving forward. Honoring A, really, really obeying the chord tones. So C, literally I start on a C note and I walk down the E minor scale. And then I walk down the D scale. And that's just a melody over C and a melody over D. Okay, so now I'm going to try and get a solo performance that I really feel good about. There's danger there because I could sit here for 2 days and do it 100 times and never quite get there. Or sometimes I get it in one take. You just never know. So I'm going to go after this and do a couple of solos and talk about them and just see if I can get one that I really like. Might even punch in. Let's see. I am punching in on that because it was good up to a point. Okay, I'm going in there. I'm going in. Okay, slip mode. I'm going in again. I'm going in again. Good concept, let me do better. So I'll take that one. Part of it is this guitar has 10s on it and it's a little harder to play than my boutique guitars. A lot of times I'll pick up a PRS or a Tom Anderson that have 9s on them, and the action, I've calculated these guitars, I have them set up so that the action is so low they play by themselves. And in fact, that's what I'll do next. I'll pick up a PRS and I'll try this solo, and I think you'll see that it's a lot easier for me to move around in a more polished way. Now, the thing about this guitar is it does make me play more rough, and it does make me play more like a 70s rocker. So let me demonstrate that again. Before I pick up another guitar, let me show you what this guitar suggests to me, because it's harder to get around. It's kind of beat up. The action's a little higher, has 10s on it. Sometimes I tune this guitar down a half step or even a whole step to play solos on it. But this guitar forces me to play a little simpler, and it forces me to fight a little for it, and that can be good. You hear certain things happen where you hear kind of the struggle, or a bent string that doesn't quite get there, or just more aggression and just trying to get something done, and that can be good. When I do pick up the PRS, it's smoother and more polished, and I'm able to fly around more. And, you know, who knows which is a better thing. There are some producers I work with that would never want that polished thing. They would want something really, really unpolished. So I'm going to go more in the direction of this guitar, suggesting that I play more classic rock, more simple, more, you know, unpolished. Let's see. I mean, who's to say that that solo is not better than the one I liked that I just did? So a guitar like this maybe is more natural to play in that manner, simply. Let me do another one like that. It's fun. And let's see what I get. It's fun. I mean, it's harder to get around and it's harder to do stuff, and there's more potential for disaster, but it's really fun. Let me try another one. If you notice, I didn't try playing any fast riffs. I'll try doing a fast riff, and that may be a crash and burn situation. Let's see. Crash and burn. Let me punch in on it. And let me do a better punch. Let me give it 2 bars of pre-roll so I can actually jump in. Yeah, so that can be better. Okay. I just wouldn't choose to play that fast on this guitar. It just feels like I'm forcing it a little bit. So let me duplicate this solo, and I'll go back to what I think is the right style for this solo. I'll just pick it up here at the end. Even the fast stuff is just a little unnatural to me. Let me go slow again. Stay slow. I'm trying to tell myself. At that speed, for me, even the mistakes sound okay. I'm even going to try and get more in that zone. Slower. See? Good, but I think it was just a little underpowered at the front. Just try again. Try and power it up. Here I go. See, now I really liked that one, and there was a mistake in there, a string bump that I actually really liked that I would actually keep. Right there, that right there, that was actually one of the funnest moments for me. I mean, that's the thing I grew up with, is that the guitar tone is so, hearing the tone of the guitar is so desirable that even when you bump a string, it can be awesome. And that's something I never want to forget as a player, is that really it's just the tone that carries you. You can almost be that simple, and it can almost even translate better because the tone is so great. I mean, this guitar, it's a 68 Black Beauty that's been devalued by all kinds of stuff. It had a neck break. It's got a really kind of funky fret job, not the greatest fret job. But it was a hand-me-down from a friend of mine, John Shanks, who has a lot of very high-end guitars. And it's a little bit tough to play, but boy, it sounds amazing for a narcotic kind of lead playing. And right now I have my divided by 13 on, and let me turn off the two pedals and listen to the tone. So most of the girth and the overdrive and the gain is happening from these two pedals, my micro amp and my ODR1. And then I have Echo Boy on in Pro Tools, which is great because you can turn it off. Like if I deliver this to somebody and they don't like the echo or they want to have less echo, they can do it. Here it is dry. Oh man, so fun to hear that. I'll put the Echo Boy back on. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my PRS, and I'll show you a more polished version, a version where it's easier for me to play faster and smoother. To stop because I was way too loud to play along with it. Once again, I was losing the drums. I was losing the pocket. That was too loud. But you see how much easier it is for me to play on this guitar. But perhaps this is something you would decide, or a producer would decide, or an artist. Perhaps this sounds too professional. Perhaps I'm too polished. We'll see. It's also very fun to do. Now I'm too soft. Let's get it right. Let me get right in front of it. I'm going to change the pre-roll to 1 bar so we don't have to wait so long. Okay, I just made a little Pro Tools mistake there. Here we go. Too loud again. Get it right. Too loud. Now let's try again. That was a solo that I hated. I was just trying to play fast, and it was not musical really. So let me turn it back up a little bit because it's a little low in the mix, and try and get musical again. And that's what happens for me when I solo. I'll do great for a while and then not so great, and then I'll do great for a while again and not so great. There are peaks and valleys involved in taking multiple shots at a solo piece. Okay, that's better. You know, if I did this a few more times, I could really probably get some really good fast stuff on the end. That was good though. That was good. Let me try the second half. Find a good punch point. 1 bar pre-roll. I'm going to punch in on the second half. He said he was going to punch in on the... Still seems like speed for the sake of speed, but I'll give myself one more chance and just try and not be a technician, but be an artist. After a short break, I'm still sure that I like the black guitar better than the PRS. Now I've picked up this guitar, I'm going to try it on this, but before I do that, I want to talk about the composition a little more. I always like to have a static part up high and a moving part below, or vice versa, where I have a static part below and a moving part up high. So what that means is, if the bass part's just going, then I like the guitar part to go. Or if there's a static part up top, like this, well, I'll demonstrate by just doing the open strings. I like for the part to be moving underneath. So one part moves and one part stays the same. I'll demonstrate. But now the low part will move. can really get away with a lot. Some of the dissonances are really nice. So that's kind of how this composition functions. Now in the second half, in addition to the chords going, to clean that up, there's another part. And let me isolate it. Let me track it down and isolate it for you and show you what it is. Not a bad solo on the PRS. Maybe I do like it, but let me just find this part. There it is. So very repetitive, very static, but it rubs, and that's the word I like to use. It rubs well against everything else that's happening. Oh, I've got to activate this. Pro Tools. So it's this part. So that adds another layer of color, harmonic interest, and the rubs are what I like, because if you've got everything kind of rubs differently depending on what chord's being played. So that's really, you know, and then even on the first part when I go, over that riff, I had to have something else harmonically over the riff so that it just stayed interesting and colorful. So I'm unsoloing everything. Let's see what happens now. Got to turn these up. They got too low for some reason. That's another thing. As you're doing this, sometimes elements of the mix can get lost. I just realized I wasn't hearing the drums. Had to crank them up. And that's just a loop. Lots of drum loops in my hard drive at this point. So now that I've kind of explained the composition again, everything's ready. Oh, got to unsolo the drums. Okay, here goes. I'm going to activate Echo Boy, take it out of bypass. See, that's the thing. You might want to dry something up, and that's why Echo Boy is so great. And I'm saving all these solos. Okay, press the right button. See, I've saved all the solos, which is cool. Okay, we'll do duplicate. And now I'm going to try this solo on a Strat. I'm going to use the neck pickup, which will make me play a little different. Now, like the PRS, this Anderson Strat, it plays itself. It's so easy to play. It's very different. You know, but it's also the Hendrixy thing, because the neck pickup always makes me feel like I can get into the Hendrix, David Gilmour zone really easily. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, in some ways, I can do more on this guitar than either of the other guitars. Part of it, though, if you think about this, I worked hard on the first segment with the black guitar, and then I worked hard on the second segment with the PRS. So what happens then is I've gotten better at this. So I can't give the guitar full credit because this is my third time around. Took a couple of breaks, drank some water, talked with Mark, and now I'm kind of more relaxed, but I actually have more command because I've put time into this already. And I've gone through stuff that I have liked and haven't liked and kind of vetted it. So part of the reason that this feels better is because I've woodshedded now. So, but I really feel good about this. I'm going to do some solos and kind of talk about them. And this guitar so far, not only is it the easiest guitar to play, but it also, like the first one, I can get kind of ugly and aggressive and choppy with it, just because it's the single coil and the neck pickup. Second half was no good. I'm punching in. Almost. Here we go. Some good elements, but my fingers actually collapsed at a certain point. Going after it again. Yeah, this guitar is fun, and it's so easy to play. The boutique guitars, for me, they stay in tune, and they're really, really easy to play. I'm going to take another one from the top. So I'm going to try and be responsible and actually play a good solo as if I was only given this one take. Let's see if I can pull it off. Okay, so now let me try one where I underplay, I leave spaces, more tasteful. Liked the second half. The first half was not great. Like I said earlier, the first half's almost easier to play fast because there's some landmines as far as the chords are so complex and unresolved. There's some landmines out there. Okay, there's a discovery. If I play just E major pentatonic in the first half, maybe that's the ticket. Maybe I'm making it too complicated. So if I literally just do E major pentatonic on the first half, I think it's going to work. And then I let the chords be strange and colorful, and I be kind of normal. That felt like a good fast section. I like this idea. I'm going to do a couple more like this, where it's just simple major pentatonic. And what the benefit to this too is that if the solo grows like a wedge, if I'm kind of chilled out and relaxed and settled in the first half, then I can be unsettled and more flashy in the second half, and maybe that's the way to build the solo. It gets more intense as it goes along. The fast riff, I got a little ahead of myself. I loved the front. Let me punching in. Nice, but I got to get my inspiration back. Now, I'm going to punch on the fourth quarter because I liked that. Here we go. No. Woo. That's the right idea. I want to do a better ascending riff. The ascending, it's easier for me to play fast descending than ascending, and this is revealing that. No. Okay, so now I'm going to admit that I'm not going to get this in one take. I'm going to do it in two pieces. Here we go. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to punch in. Right idea. Let's listen to that. It's a bit out of pocket and the note choices are not great, so let's try again. I'm onto something. I'm onto something. My fingers are not, however, onto something. Decent. Let's try again. Gonna get there. Decent. Maybe I'll punch in the very end. Here we go. So if you don't tell anybody that I punched that, it might sound great. So let me get the last note. until the previous last note, it sounded more natural. Yeah, so I won't tell anybody if you don't. We punched in, we made it, I'm happy with it. And I do love the neck pickup on this guitar. This is the winner to me. Even though the 68 Les Paul does turn me into a early 70s, more classic, you know, muscular player. This I can really fly on this one, and it still has the credibility to me and the grind, you know, somehow. Whereas the PRS was somewhere in the middle. It didn't quite commit itself either way. So this one, I think this one wins.